What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the DFR podcast. I'm excited to be back for the 2026 season with Matt Weaver. We took a little hiatus at the end of the year, had a few things kind of go awry in scheduling. So we missed a couple shows, but we are back and ready to go for the full 2026 season. We had a fun night to kick things off. But first, Matt, how was your winter? How are you doing? What have you been up to?
We are so back. we could not be any more back. We are back. NASCAR is back. The Cup Series is back. That was the most NASCAR show of all NASCAR shows. I was entertained, but we are back.
That is one way to put it. Entertained.
I was sports entertained.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. I don't. Before we get too negative, because I have a feeling I'm going to get negative at least.
I'm not. I'm so happy to be back. I'm happy to have NASCAR and race cars. It was an exhibition. Let me just say that right now. I've had hills to die on, and there's been times that people accuse me of being negative or whatever. There was no way that race was going to go off in anything that's resembled normal. And the fact that they were able to throw a green flag and a checkered flag, there's things to pick apart. But I'm not mad. My time wasn't wasted.
No. I want to say first, Ryan Preece won. I think that's awesome. I think that's it's really cool to see him get the win. I thought anytime you get real raw emotion like what we saw from him, Victory Lane, that's what you're hoping for. Yeah, the show is crazy. It was, I don't know, it was 6:50, and I went outside and it was sleeting and snowing and all that stuff, or freezing rain. I live 12 and a half minutes west of the racetrack. And so I was sitting there, I was like, oh, great, this is going to turn into a shit show. And of course it did. We had 17 cautions through a very, very long race. It went pretty close. I think it was right at about 3.5 hours from green flag to checker flag. So it was an extended 200 lap short track race. I don't know if I've seen one longer, honestly. But there's still a lot of fun things that happen. Like you said, it's an exhibition. Glad we got it in. Obviously, living here, it's been snowpocalypse for us, which has been very awkward. It's the most snow I've seen in the 20 some years I've lived here. So very, very fun and interesting week, fun race. What are your biggest takeaways though from the event?
Well, to me, I want to start here. While we are recording this, simultaneous to us recording this, Ryan Preece is in his truck driving from Winston-Salem to New Smyrna Speedway. How badass is that? Like he's got to be on the grounds at New Smyrna Speedway tomorrow for practice day. Super late model. He's going to race the super late model on Friday. He's going to race the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour opener on Saturday. The super races on Saturday. He's got his personal super late model that he owns. He's driving the Tour Modified that his dad owns, and they work on both of those cars together. And it's so incredible. Like, to me, Ryan Preece is so indicative of like the American racer dream, that in his mind, he had planned to go run the Clash, and as soon as that race was over, immediately drive down and go to New Smyrna. He did not, and I'm sure, in all honesty, book time to win the race. You always hope. But this was his first Cup win, and it's funny. I was talking to his spotter, Brandon Wilkinson, for a story I'm going to put together. I've known Brandon for a couple of years because up until last year, he was a super late model spotter for Gio Ruggiero. And so he just got his first NASCAR full-time gig last year. It was his first win. And I was talking to Brandon about Ryan's schedule this coming weekend and next week. And Ryan Preece comes over and he's super stoked and excited. And Mike Massaro is trying to tell him, we've got stacking pennies. We've got this TV spot for you. Ron's like, text me, call me, let me know. I got to get going. I'll make whatever you need me to. I got to get on the road. And I'm just thinking, what a racer. Because there's been so many years in my career to where I do the same thing. I leave one race. I leave the NASCAR race to go down to the short track race. That's a racer. That is a racer's racer. So it's so cool that not only is Preece doing that, and that he won this race. He won a race at Bowman Gray Stadium, which is kind of representative of all things grassroots and short track racing. And so
Mhm.
I throw that all into a blender. To me, that's just a very rewarding story after everything it took to get there.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows what happens if the race, is dry conditions. But the moment it started raining, he was kind of the guy. He was the best car for that last 100 laps. It seemed like it's not like it was a fluke thing outside of it being a wet racetrack. So very very happy for him. He looked really strong last year at times, like for a brand new team, really thrown together, a lot of new pieces, new spotter, new everything. They've really come together well. I thought he was going to have a good year this year, and to start off with the wins, fantastic. So really,
He was
really
good
cool.
at LA, the LA Clash.
Yep.
That I remember the first year that he raced with SHR, he raced up front,
Mhm.
and I forget who he raced for the win there that year. But I remember thinking, it's actually he was racing Bubba Wallace at one point, and so I was
Mhm.
listening to the 23 radio, and Freddie Kraft from New England too has spotted for RP and has raced with him and against him, and I just remember him saying, "This is what 22, 23, or whatever year that was." He's like, "I know all of Ryan's move. I know exactly what he's about to do," and so there's kind of a micro story to that too. That this has kind of been building over the course of the LA Coliseum to Bowman Gray.
Yeah, that I believe that was 2023. Martin Truex, I think, won that race.
That's right. Yeah.
And then but Priest led like 48 laps or so. Like he was very, very strong there. And obviously comes from short track background, like you mentioned. So all this kind of ties in very, very well. If he was gonna get a win, it kind of feels like this is the perfect kind of scenario for him. Um, let's move to TV real quick because there's a lot of different things. There's a lot happening in the sport over the last few months, obviously, but there's a few things I want to talk about. One, the raw emotion that they allowed to play out, and maybe this is because they were no longer on Fox, but we had 4 F-bombs from Ryan Priest there. But it was such a raw, natural moment, and I'm so glad they didn't take it away from us by bleeping out and removing the audio and all that. So I'm very thankful we got that. But it was on, I guess, FS2. I'm not 100% sure where it moved because I just watched on the app. But at the 9 o'clock window, we're kicked off Big Fox. NASCAR, major sports kicked off Big Fox. What's your thoughts on that? Does it matter? Is it just irrelevant given the circumstances? Obviously, we never planned on racing on Wednesday, so there's a lot to maneuver around. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, first about Ryan, haven't heard it yet. I was in the garage talking to people, and I saw the tweets. I haven't actually heard it yet, so I don't know exactly how that came across. It's unfortunate, the whole being preempted for Mass Singer. That's a big show. It's a really important show for Fox, and in fact, honestly, NASCAR and Fox had actually gave that race as much leeway and rope as they possibly could have. They preempted Mass Singer an hour.
Right.
And in the best case scenario, maybe that race ends at 9 instead of 8, and they get some of that rub. The millions of people who watch the Mass Singer catch the end of the NASCAR race. It could have
Right.
worked out perfectly. So that part's just unfortunate. Running the race on Wednesday, the TV window starting at 6 for a 6:20 green flag. Had it not started to sleet, that race probably would have been done within the TV window. And so
Yeah.
uh, I look at it kind of holistically in the sense that I think everyone's just pleased and content to get out of town and hopefully try again next year. I know that's still an open-ended question with the Clash. Just happy they were able to get it in because it's snowing literally right now. It snowed on my drive back
Mhm.
home, snowing on top of you too. So I just think that everyone TV NASCAR is happy to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of brought something up that I want to talk about anyway. So, where should the Clash be next year? Should this be something we still try to do on short tracks? I know you're a big short track guy, so maybe that's the way you go. But so much chatter about moving it back to Daytona. NASCAR fans are rationally thinking you could just pick up and move it in 2 days.
That's not
That's
happening.
that's not realistic. But looking forward to next year. Obviously, we left Daytona because they wadded up every car they took, and owners were like, "Save us! We don't want to destroy cars." You can wreck at Bowman Gray, but you're not tearing cars up and replacing them. So I still feel like Daytona is not a realistic outcome. Where do you see this going? Do you think Bowman Gray should stay? Do you think obviously the snow is going to dampen things a lot, but can we go to New Smyrna? Can we go down south? to the state of Florida to some tracks? Or what do you think? What's your idea?
So I actually think there's a lot of moving pieces here to consider. Um, First and foremost, NASCAR has an agreement with the city of Winston-Salem,
Mhm.
Bowman Gray Stadium as the leaseholder to the facility to have a national touring event. I think for like the next 30 years or something.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact contract. They're going to have some national scale event at the stadium in some capacity. That doesn't mean cup, but just something there to honor that commitment. So my best guess is they will be back at Winston Salem Bowman Gray next year. It could be the All Star race, and I know most people will hear that and
Please.
go, "Well, that's an SMI race. How does that make any sense?" I don't think this is Dover's long term
No.
hosting responsibility. This is just a lot of parts are being moved around. NASCAR wants to take the Clash international, and there's just so many different ways this could go. Um, if they do get a place like Brazil, right? That's one place they want to go. Australia, at some point down the road, they've had those conversations, not imminently, but they've talked about it. Um, so if the Clash goes international, well, then how do you honor the agreement that NASCAR has with the city of Winston Salem? Maybe you work out a deal with SMI. What can you give SMI? And in the past, I would say give them the championship race, and maybe as part of this rotating deal where Homestead one year, maybe I don't know,
Vegas.
Vegas, yeah, Vegas is warm enough. I don't want to say Atlanta because I don't want to do it. Although now that we have the chase, we haven't talked about playoffs. Now that we have the chase, you know what? If it's just 1 of 10, who cares if Atlanta is the season finale? Because at that point, it's 1 of 10. You can
It
stick
used to be the season
1,
finale
2.
forever.
Totally right. And so I'm less offended by your finale being a diet super speedway race because of that. My point being is that there are things that NASCAR could give SMI to then get the All-Star race in exchange and honor that by making it a summer. New Smyrna, I love that idea because me, Chris Gapehart, and Frank Kimmel together kind of teamed up for a story a couple of years ago to beat the drum that the All-Star race should be this rotating venue. You take it to South Boston, you take it to New Smyrna, you take it to Five Flag Speedway. So all of this to say, there's a lot of different options NASCAR has. I would like to come back one more year. It's close to home. I love Bowman Gray, and I love the first year so much that I want to end off on a higher note than this year.
Yeah, this year weather has dampened it certainly. We did 3 years at the Coliseum. Doing 3 years here kind of makes sense. For me, I think the racing's good. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have is both. There's a lot of cautions in this one, and it kind of got out of hand. But the last chance qualifier was fantastic in the dry. I think in a dry race, the racing itself at Bowman Gray is really good. And so the event itself is rewarding to me. I try not to pay too much attention to NASCAR Twitter right now. It just feels like they're overly negative on things that they don't need to be. And I don't really see a whole lot of need to move it. And like you mentioned, you live in this area. Every NASCAR team's in this area. It's wonderful for them to go to this race and be home within an hour, right? It's a lot more to go into it, to having to go down to Florida or something and put the hauler down there a week early, put guys in hotels, do all these things when you can just run it up the mile, a few miles up the road. I think it should stay here. I do like the rotating idea. I do not want to see it anywhere crazy. I do like the Clash internationally, though. I love that idea. You could run this race the first week of January. I mean, if you're going to Australia, it's summer. You can run it, at any point there. Same thing with Brazil. You're mentioning a lot of places in the Southern Hemisphere that's obviously summer. So you can expand the market, but we can get this Clash in 2-3 weeks before Daytona 500. It doesn't have to be the week before the Super Bowl and all that. So I'm very interested to see what they do with it. I'm hoping one more year at Bowman Gray for sure. I think that'd be good. And then really take a big swing. Go somewhere super cool, different. I don't care if it's Saudi Arabia. Just do something crazy and see.
Let's not go to Saudi. Let's not go to Saudi.
I just want to see your reaction.
I'm not going to Saudi Arabia.
I just want to see your reaction.
Y'all have fun with that. I ain't about that life. Listen, I want to say this though, by the way, too. A lot of critics are saying, well, the weather this week is indicative of why this event should not be held in Winston-Salem in February. And I'm here to tell you, the weather we had last year for the Clash is way more reflective of what the weather is here. 50 to 55, cool, maybe windy. This was truly I don't know what the scope of generational is, but this was the most amount of snow they've had since a 2018 storm. But even before that, more than 2018, you have to go back to 2004 for this region to have this kind of storm. There was a stretch from 2021 to 2023, 1,164 days that it did not snow in the North Carolina Triad. It does not snow here like that. And if you do get snow, it's 1 inches, a dusting, maybe 2 on a really good day. Knock on wood, this will not happen next year, but I wouldn't have thought it would have happened this year too. Just really, really bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I've lived in this area for 15 years now. I've had the 2018 storm. These are literally the only 2 times it's been like that. I have some posts on social media from a decade ago where I went to Taco Bell in the snowstorm in 2014, but it was like 2 inches. We don't get snow here a lot. It is literally once every 3-4 years we get a little something. This is a top 5 all-time snowstorm since they've been recording it here in Winston. It's just weird. You look ahead till next week, it's in the 60s. It's beautiful. It's lovely. So just a unique circumstance. But it is what it is. Don't overreact to 1 year. It's a very small sample size. One more question on the Clash, because I've seen NASCAR Twitter. I saw the sentiment, and I kind of agree to an extent. Should we be racing in the rain? Given the show we saw today and kind of the other shenanigans we've seen in the rain, should our premier stock car drivers be racing in a situation like that? Should that be the product we're putting out there?
So I go to so many races. They all run together. The last truly wet race I can remember was New Hampshire 2 years ago. Was there another one that happened?
There was one more
on an oval.
I'm blanking. I'm also blending in the Martinsville truck race, and then
we've had some good ones. I feel like more often than not, the racing has been really quality when we've had that. Was it Richmond rain race?
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Here's the thing you have to consider. Bowman Gray is the madhouse. And if you tell us that we're going to have, big stock cars on tiny Bowman Gray. Oh, and then by the way, we're going to pour water on the racetrack too. You're getting the maddest version of the madhouse. And so I think that it's really easy to overreact to what happens at Bowman Gray and say, oh, we shouldn't race on wet weather conditions when there's been racing at Wilkesboro, Richmond, New Hampshire, which has been some of the best quality racing. These drivers are capable of it. I do think we're asking too much of them to do it legitimately at Bowman Gray. But the great thing about this race is it's not really legitimate. I shouldn't say that it's illegitimate, but it's not a real race.
Yeah, it's not determined.
I think we've lost Ryan, and I think we're still live. And so I'm going to assume for a second, I have no idea how this technology works. I'm going to assume that I'm talking to you guys still, and I wish there was some way. Can you tweet me? Is anyone even watching this? I don't even know. Hey, he's back. I was carrying dead air. I was going to tell people that I wasn't sure if we were actually still live or not, and I think we were.
Yes, yeah, I screwed up. I don't know what the hell I did. Yes,
it doesn't count. This is not a real race.
Yes, none of this counts. The North Wilkesboro race was the other one I was thinking of, and I think that was fine, honestly. Yeah, yep. I sometimes worry that we get into these 17 caution races, and I'm just like, this looks like monkeys fucking a football. That type deal, and it worries me to a degree. But enough about this race.
Denny Hamlin gave me that quote today. I couldn't believe he actually gave me the Days of Thunder line.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, hey, we are so back. Denny's giving me, banger quotes. He says we were out there looking like monkeys fucking a football. And I'm like, Denny, you're back.
It's about right. Yeah. All right. I'm excited. I'm ready. Chase. No more playoffs. I know you were still you're hanging your hat still on the playoffs, but I got through the championship race last year and I was just done. I was spent. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm excited for the chase. I'm a little nervous about the way they set up winning, the amount of points that they're delivering to the race winners. But
Really? Really? Because that's the answer. I'm actually way more on board with this version of the chase than I was even the previous version. Because I just, if you remember, my rebuttal in our conversations about the playoffs were, is I just felt like my favorite thing that I loved about that format was how much winning mattered, and that at the end of the day, I never grew up in a world to where I got out of racing my cars when I was younger, going, man, fourth place. This was a really good day. My dad still races. My dad does not get out of the race car after third place and go, this was a good day. And so I love that this version of the chase for the championship has a greater emphasis on winning. So there is still so much value in winning a race, but also because unlike the previous version of the chase, stage points. If you have one bad race with the old chase, I just thought that, man, one bad race killed you. And you can have a bad race with this format. And if you can win enough, and if you can run up front in the top 10 enough, you can get those points back. I just hated, I love that the old championship format, the playoff format, you could overcome having one bad day. And if you were a great team, you could win your way out of it. This version of the chase for the championship, with the points that you can earn, stage points, winning a race, you can win your way. You can run up front your way out of a bad race, out of a mulligan. I love that.
Okay, that's fair enough. I just
and you still get the season long, 10 race long. Like it's kind of the blend of all worlds.
Yeah, my hiccup on it, and it's not big. Like I'm so excited. Like the air felt fresher and the grass was greener when I walked out after it was announced. Like it feels so much better. And
the Roval too.
Yeah. Oh God, we'll get there. Larson wins the regular season championship, right? So he starts off with whatever that is, 25 points more than second place. And then he goes on and wins 3 races in the playoffs or chase. He's going to have such a lead that we're going to get to 2 races go and he's going to have it locked up. And if we're afraid of locking it up early, this system, I believe, presents that opportunity. Now, you've made the argument. Winning matters. If someone goes out there and kicks their ass, then he kicks their ass. And I think we all kind of are like, well, if it's a season-long format, that we're okay with it in that situation. Overall, extremely happy. You seem pretty happy as a playoff defender, but you happy with where they landed on this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that this is where I land. I thought that being a pro playoff guy, I thought that everything we did leading up to the one race, best finisher take all was legitimate. Not just fine. I thought that it was perfect. And it was just all undone by how small the sample size was. I thought, the emphasis on winning your way in. I thought that large, like when we got to the Final Four, you earn that. There was no flukes in getting to the Final Four. And I just thought that if they had gone to the format to where we keep everything the same, but we have a 8-driver 4-race final or something like that. But actually, since we've last talked, something else changed my mind on that. I saw what that would look like in supercars. I watched the supercars finale, the grand finale, and it even put a damper on my counter argument that, man, we just need a longer runway. And 3 races was not enough to derail one of the greatest modern supercar seasons of all time. And so I was like, I cannot in good faith argue this. Like 3 races, 4 races, what's the difference? Like that outcome could still happen, one bad race.
Right.
And that's why I think the 10 race is something I can live with when there's so many more points available, because you can still win your way out of it. And that's all I want. I think people misconstrue me that I just want cheap drama or cheap storylines. Truly, it is, I just value more winning than finishing 7th. And this format encourages you to finish 7th. But man, if you have one bad race, you can get out of it by winning. And that's so important.
Yeah. Send all the hate to Bianchi. We don't need that here. But yeah, I'm in agreement.
I'm not wearing a fur coat.
No, he's really leaning into it.
He is.
Yeah, I was.
LaJoy gave him some funny shit in his press conference today. What did he say? He's like, Jordan asked him a question, and Jordan was like, "What are you wearing?" But I will tell you, with all due respect, like I respect the hell out of Jordan, and Jordan pushes me to be a better storyteller and journalist. So I'm not crapping on Jordan, but he is so confident and so bold. And you know what? Bless him, because I don't have the confidence to do it. And I will admit I'm a lesser man in that regard, because I think it actually takes balls to be able to pull off the fashion sense that he does. So salute.
Listen, those are the people that make the big bucks. You look at every television channel out there is covering sports. They're all guys like him. They're all the guys pushing buttons, making people talk about him. So, I mean, it's going to work. It's going to draw tweets. His name's going to show up more. He's going to have more interactions. It's all going to equal more money for him. So, maybe we should work on that ourselves.
Apparently, sharing one real, very legitimate forecast run that shows a hurricane on Daytona 500 day, that's also the way to create negative buzz. It was real. I told everyone, do not take it seriously. But holy crap, I had to mute it. I have no idea if people are still beating me up. That was a real model run. It's just throw that I'm mad about it. I'm mad about it. I've been mad about it for 3 days. I threw it out there as just humor.
It's a joke, yeah.
I'm a weather junkie. I love the weather. I love snow, and I wanted to be a meteorologist when I was a kid. So I have a casual, I have a casual, fascination with weather. So I'm always looking at models and trends. And I know that the 12Z GFS run 2 weeks out has no real bearing on reality. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we just had the Clash snowed in, and there was one model that showed a literal hurricane on February 15th, I could not help myself but to share it. And I told everyone, do not take this seriously. I'm not telling you to take it seriously, but there is a model run that shows a hurricane over Florida on Daytona 500 day, just because it would have been so just wicked. Such a wicked, back-to-back race outcome, and people ran with it and beat me up, and I was not doing it for clicks. There's nothing to click. I don't make money on just showing a picture. I just thought it was funny. I thought it was diabolical.
Yeah. I thought it was clever. I was just looking at it, I was like, no, just stop. I thought it was fun. I looked at it, and
it was a real map, though. That was a real forecast.
Right. It's not like you're just making something up for fun. Like that literally is a possibility. So hopefully not.
No, I don't even think it's a real possibility, but it was what the model spit out.
Fair. Favorite movie growing up, Twister?
No,
that's what got me into it.
They showed it in school so many times that I cannot stand to watch. I haven't even watched the new one yet, because in high school, every single substitute teacher either put that or Jurassic Park in. And so I am Twister and Jurassic Parked out.
The new one is basically the exact same story, but with younger, hotter people.
Okay.
That's about it. It was fine. I liked it. No, Twister was my movie growing up. We lived in Florida. I had a tornado or two that kind of hit right where we lived. That movie came out, and we had a dollar movie theater like on Fridays. So my grandmother would take me there, and we go like every week. And I watched this movie like 15 times in a theater type deal. So big part of my childhood. That's what got me into the weather deal. I won the 8th grade science Olympiad for meteorology. Like that type of grew out of it. And I do podcasts now. So, but let's move on. Daytona preview, I guess, is next up. What? Well,
real fast. I don't want to leave Bowman Gray just yet. Did you see the story I posted before I hopped on?
I did not. I was actually laying in bed.
So I do want to talk about that on the air, because I want to kind of frame what happened. And so I put out a story that a bunch of crew chiefs and crew members were actually really mad. They were mad about the officiating, the communication, and I don't know how much of this came across on TV, but it was just very clear that no one had any idea what the rules were or what was going to be allowed. Hocevar ran 6 laps on slicks, even though NASCAR had still declared it a wet track. And the next caution comes out so everyone can put their fuel in, and they tell them you have to take them off. We're penalizing you, even though we had 6 laps that we let you run on them. for a fuel break, by the way, that Jim Pullman, Kyle Busch's crew chief, said that he came in to top off the caution before, and that an official tried to stop him and said, "You're not allowed to put fuel in." And he's like, "Well, I'll take the penalty. We're going to run out of gas, so I have to." And then he's like, "Okay, well then fine, I'll let it go." And then NASCAR calls everyone to come pit after Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson runs out. There was just a lot of misdirection, bad communication, and I was walking through the pit area, and a crew member that I really admire and respect just wanted, I guess he just wanted to unload on me because he was just so mad. It was like, when you hear NASCAR say that we need to get back to the garage and connect with our teams because we've lost the garage a little bit. He's like, this is what we're talking about. Like, this stuff like this is unacceptable, to get official A and official B on the ground giving you two different answers, what you can and can't do. And then to see the opposite applied to the next guy that comes in behind you. And you've got race control saying you can do something, and then the guy on the ground saying you can't. It was a complete disaster. And I had some pretty honest quotes from everyone. James Small was having a cow on the radio when they let everyone come in and put fuel in, because James had anticipated, and he told me this after the race, that we thought this was going to be, not counting cautions, I thought this was going to be a caution-heavy race, and I packed her full of fuel because one of our strategies is we can beat them on fuel if it comes down to it. And there was nothing in our planning that NASCAR said that they would call a caution or have a caution and allow everyone to come down, especially after two guys had pitted and gave up their track position, the 8 team. The consensus is that we need to have a conversation, teams and NASCAR, and it's the first race of the year, but we need to clean some stuff up because stuff like this cannot happen in the regular season.
Yeah. So motorsport.com, you have the article up there. I just pulled it up. You have video interview with James Small on your Twitter. So a lot of that, X. So you have all that available. We also saw during that same period, William Byron pitted 2 laps before they pulled everyone in. He had pitted for fuel. They black flagged him, or they were sending him to the rear. They were able to argue that and reverse it, and he ended up restarting 5th and eventually finishing 2nd. I'm sure no matter what, there's going to be people unhappy with calls like that. Everyone else is probably like, well, shit, he came in and pitted. That's not cool, right? Versus them, we're like, well, we wouldn't have pitted if you told us you're going to bring everyone in, right? So there's this constant lack of foresight. And just to add to it, this happened at the Clash in the Coliseum a couple years ago. This isn't the first time in this event this has happened. I think it was Gilliland and a couple other guys ran out. They parked in the middle of the infield, and they're like, well, our race is over. And these back then, they didn't lead the track. They just had the infield, and there was no fuel there, right? So it feels like this is something that was even preventable because it's already happened. And the lack of communication, the lack of understanding the potential outcomes within your events has continued to plague them. This has been years and years and years of built up frustration, I'm sure, for all the crew members and crew chiefs that deal with this on a weekly basis. This is the next step of officiating that they need to get figured out, for sure. I don't know, late last year, we saw the race director leave the company. I don't really know any details about that.
None of us do.
I don't really care to get into it. That was very abrupt, but at some point, there needs to be a very significant look into how officiating is done, how we miss cars and tire barriers for 35 seconds, how all these things that add up. Because isolated, it's one thing, but notches and badges 10, 12 times over a couple of years, it's very, very frustrating. And it makes things look ridiculous at times. And today was certainly one of them. I mean, it looked like you're making stuff up on the fly, and it benefits certain people and it doesn't benefit others. And, at the end of the day, strategy is strategy. James Small's right. I knew what race I was getting into. I put more fuel into it. The other guys didn't. This has happened in F1 going back decades, right? Teams would purposely underfuel the cars, turn really fast laps, look like they got speed so they can get sponsors. Like, underfueling cars has always been a thing in racing. Obviously, certain teams got killed this tonight doing it, but in reality, they didn't get killed because they got bailed out. So I agree. I kind of am on the side of the people that are pissed off. I don't like that we make things up on the fly. They need to understand where they're at and what they're doing and make rules accordingly.
I will leave this on the note that Cliff Daniels left me with when I asked him about it. And he's like, we had such a terrible race that I am in no position to criticize anyone else's performance. And so he says, I'm not going to do that. He says, I will just acknowledge that it was the first race of the year and that there were so many things working against NASCAR. And they did such an admirable job to get everyone here, to communicate all the things they needed to communicate to be able to have this show tonight. And basically, Cliff says, and we move on, and we'll figure out the rest, us as a team and them as a sanctioning body before the Daytona 500. So I think they're going to work on it. It's just there are a lot of little things that have happened over the last couple of years. It's a theme, right? I mean, 2 years ago it was us meeting outside the NASCAR hauler 8 times in 12 weeks because every single week it seemed like there was a thing to work on. I do not want to spend every other week outside the NASCAR hauler because there's something that Elton Sawyer or someone has to explain to us. I don't want to spend my post races there.
Yeah, I got to the point where I didn't want to see Elton Sawyer's face anymore.
I like Elton a ton. I respect Elton, and Elton was put into positions of where he was often having to explain things that he wasn't even responsible for.
Right, he was the face of the conversation. It's like, oh man, this again. It not on him. He's just he's the messenger, right? So nothing personal, but yeah, it's not a good start. It's not a great start. It felt like I don't want to do lawsuit stuff, but lawsuit happens. It's over. We've moved on. We get the playoffs. It felt like momentum was growing, and then it feels like tonight was a bit of a step back and to a degree. So I'm hoping Daytona goes smoothly. We have a good, clean race. It seems like honestly, I was much happier with the Fox broadcast tonight. I think they cleaned some stuff up in terms of graphics and telecast and stuff. So I'm hoping they're a little bit better this year as well, and just the product's better in whole. And
I haven't seen it yet. Is any more cartoon characters?
No, they're gone. That's part of it. At least from what I saw, it was. I didn't see cartoons. I saw non-cartoon characters, so I believe they're gone. I think Mike Joy, I think, was on a mediocre voice. I don't know if he's sick or not, but it seemed like his voice was he pushed through well though. And I felt the commentary team was better tonight than they had been. I felt like the broadcast was better. And then I don't know if I just caught this wrong or if this is a Bowman Gray thing, but I didn't see them go to the front stretch with Ryan Preece and do an interview. It seemed like they kind of pulled him to a side, almost like in a victory lane situation. I would love if that front stretch interview post race is gone. I don't know if that will be something we'll find out in Daytona. But that interest, the whole way they presented the Ryan Preece victory lane celebration worked for me. Because it felt like he's out of the car, his guys are there, he's celebrating with his people, he's got a phone call from someone congratulating. Like all this stuff happened in real time. You felt the emotion. Whereas you get that weird front stretch interview that doesn't really work, and then we kind of go to victory lane, but now he's already talked to y'all, so it doesn't really matter. I thought tonight, just the raw emotion and the way the whole presentation, aside from being on the air for 4 hours, I thought it was good. I thought it was a lot better than we're used to, honestly.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. I don't even know how to find, but I'll get there.
You'll get there. Anything else on the class before I try to push this towards Daytona? Because I mean, we're only a week away from cars on track for the duels.
Yeah, just I talked about it at the start, but just Ryan Preece is a good story. It's a good story for Roush, given the loss of Biffle, and he was part of the family there. Brad's kind of on the mend, and so he was watching from home, I presume. And just a good story that Ryan Preece is. And so I don't want to discount the winner and talking about all these other things, because I just think that how we got there aside, Ryan Preece executed a perfect race and won that race legitimately. And what a great story of a winner that is. And I haven't had a chance to write that story yet, but I can't wait. I'm going to do it as soon as we're done with the show tonight. There's so much I want to say about Ryan and what this means for not only NASCAR, but also that short track community that we hold near and dear together.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Twitter. Gluck posted a video like right when we got on here, just absolutely puking snow at
Snow.
the
I saw it.
track. That's hilarious. It's over. I think this is it for the year, hopefully. But dang, man, that's wild. I'm glad they got the race in because it not too far afterwards. It looks like it opened up again. Daytona. What are we expecting? Where are we at? Are you excited? I'm assuming you're going down to Florida pretty soon, right? New Smyrna stuff.
Either tonight or in the morning.
Tonight or in the morning.
It
Driving
might
down?
be. It might. Yeah, I'm driving. I'm pulling a Ryan Priest.
There you go.
So
So very, very
I'm being a responsible adult. I wanted to go to the World of Outlaws opener tonight and tomorrow. Going to the World Series of Asphalt Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm going to try to be a responsible adult. The NASCAR R&D briefing with the media is tomorrow too.
Mhm.
I don't know, but I'm going to give up the ghost on the World of Outlaws, and my next green flag will not be until Friday night. New Smyrna super late models.
nice. That means no Rockingham test for you for the trucks.
I don't even know. I don't even know when it is anymore at this
I
point.
think
Is
it's
it?
Friday.
It's Friday. Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Latest I heard. So Daytona Super Speedway Racing. We got a lot of cars. I think we got like 48 cars on the entry list for Daytona 500. That's really, really cool. Anytime you don't want guys to go home, you want everyone to make the race. But to me, it feels real when
I want people to go home.
yeah, 4 or 5 teams go home. You're like, okay, there's real stakes here on Thursday night in qualifying. I think that's really, really cool. It shows to me good growth in the sport. Like there was no cars going home a few years ago, like maybe 1 or 2. I feel like we're seeing a progressive growth within the sport, and I love that. A lot of good names, a lot of good drivers on the open teams and everything. So I'm excited for the race. Hopefully, not too much fuel saving. But what are you looking forward to? What are your thoughts on the first race of the year?
Well, my favorite thing about the next gen, and there's a lot of things I do not like about the next gen, but I've always said this because I've seen the entry list grow for the Daytona 500 every year, is that this car, because the R&D on it is so limited. It's not like the old previous version of cars where NASCAR has got to constantly come up with rules to chase after the teams. The car is pretty much static from last year. They changed the was it the A flap or the A post rule on both sides, the shark fin on both sides of the car. But like for the most part, like no one has to spend tons of money from one Daytona 500 to the next to keep up with what's happened.
Mhm.
And so you could be a team like RFK and have the extra car, NY Racing or Beard Motorsports or who's another one of those fringe teams that I'm thinking of?
BJ
Whoever, right?
McLeod got his.
BJ, totally, right? And so you could be one of those teams in it where it's like it is viable enough to have that car just sit there and you can massage on it all year because NASCAR is not going to throw some crazy rule to invalidate what you've had. And for the most part, with a spec car, this rules package will probably be the same for next year and the year after that. And I think NASCAR's done a good job of being able to sell this car to those teams and say, hey, if you just want to have a Daytona 500 car, come on down. And then our rules package will validate that decision. And so I used to actually leave before I got a big boy NASCAR job when I was a freelancer. I would not stay for the duels because what did it matter? Like I want to go down to New Smyrna, see some
Right.
really good super late model and tour mod racing. Now, even if I was a freelancer, I would stay for the duels because there is so much narrative. So many good drivers could go on. I hate that Jimmy Johnson has the open exemption provisional because it takes away some drama. Like I want to see Jimmy Johnson battle. I don't want to see Jimmy Johnson miss per se, but I will say this: if Jimmy Johnson misses the Daytona 500, that adds to the legacy of this race. It doesn't take away from it. It shows you how hard it is. So I'm excited for Thursday. I'm excited for Friday. That Truck Series entry list.
It's stacked.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's so nice. It's great stories, great champions. The full-time roster for trucks this year is really, really incredible. A lot of guys coming in from other divisions
Yep.
to fill out the Ram roster. Just so many good stories. Tony Stewart's back.
Yeah. I mean, and that really illustrates, and I know, Brad was the most vocal of this, is how important a fourth manufacturer is to NASCAR's Ram coming into the trucks, giving us 5 more teams, 5 more high quality, high funded teams, getting a Justin Haley, getting depth of driver and team makes the series better. Especially a series like the truck series where the price pools aren't that big. It's all sponsorship driven. Like you got to have the money, whether it's from a pay driver or from a sponsorship, to go out there and be super competitive. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about the truck series. I think Ram obviously is a huge part of why we're going to have such a deep field. But I think we're going to have, I remember when the 10 drivers making the playoffs in the truck series was implemented. Everyone's like, there's not 10 good drivers in the truck series. I feel like right now we're in a sweet spot where it's like, no, we're going to see 6, 7, 8 guys that are competent not make the playoffs this year. The chase. It's going to take me a little while to get there. I feel like the field is very deep. The racing is going to be great. I mean, especially when you got guys like Stewart. They're going to have several Cup drivers, and they got an IndyCar driver in there for St. Pete, I believe. Like they got some cool things they're doing. I don't want to ruin the show, but we already kind of know who's going to be in that other truck as well. The show, actually, another thing, I've really enjoyed the show. What's that?
As a teaser, I'm just saying that you said the Ram.
Oh God, yeah,
said,
that's a good one. You can just check the ARCA entry list to see who needs to get approval. But it's just another thing that's cool. Like I'm watching this thing at night, 11 o'clock at night. I turn on the Ram show. I'm just enjoying it. I'm watching these guys. It's fun. It doesn't have to be anything special. It's fun and enjoyable, and it's racing. So I'm very thankful for Ram for just existing at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, the truck race is going to be fantastic. Obviously, Xfinity's always great. I don't know if they've ever had a bad race at Daytona. And then Daytona 500 is a big show. So I'm getting amped up. I'm getting excited. I'm hoping for a good weekend, good, high quality racing. Anything else to add on that? I know we got some time. You got some articles coming out and stuff, I'm sure too, right?
Yeah. I don't know who it was because I was not part of the playoff committee. Was it Jeff Burton? Maybe I don't want to misstate who it was, but someone in the playoff committee said their biggest frustration, O'Donnell talked about it too, is that when watching the Daytona 500, it turned into, this guy's locked into the playoffs as opposed to this guy won the Daytona 500. But I took it a step further because, like, again, I was pro playoff, and I wasn't mad about that. But I will say that when I watch the Daytona 500 the last 11 years, when we were getting down to the closing laps, I was not viewing that race through an historical lens. I was thinking to myself, man, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s up front. What would it mean if he made the playoffs this year? Or, man, Harrison Burton, Josh Berry, with the Wood brothers, what if they won the Daytona 500 and made the playoffs? And I ran everything through the lens of, like, the playoffs. And then to take it a step further, because a win was so hyper valuable, I think sometimes that is what eroded our race quality. Because if NASCAR dangles that carrot that is so valuable, that winning a race means that your charter is now a top 16 charter and you get paid top 16 charter money for your 2-year rolling average, I think sometimes that did make drivers drive a little crazy. And that decreased the value of the Daytona 500 to me. Is I hate that the Daytona 500 every year comes down to, well, who didn't crash someone or who didn't get crashed. I wonder if a byproduct of going to a season long-ish with a chase format to where points do matter, it's still the Daytona 500, but will that calm down some of the racing in Daytona? I want to watch races like back in the day to where it wasn't always decided by the 15, 16, 17 car crash. And a lot of that's the rules package, the drag on these cars. But I just can't help but think these drivers feel so bulletproof, and winning is so transformational back then in a way that it's not now. Maybe they just go have a race as opposed to a Royal Rumble and the last man over the top rope wins.
I think we're going to get the Royal Rumble. personally. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And these guys have been doing this for a decade now, where they just beat the crap out of each other until someone wrecks. So I agree with you. I've had a few of my friends kind of say the same thing. They're like, hopefully this new setup prevents guys from just being like, winning's the most important thing. I'm just gonna wreck the dog. Like Austin Dillon at Richmond, the first time he
Yes.
won, it's like that situation is probably prevented. If it's not that you must win today to make an extra $3 million for your team every year, right? It's a very big deal, or it was a big deal to win. Now it's still important. You still want to win, but you might not sell the farm to make that win happen. So I think Daytona has a special place where everyone's just going to be like, no, I want to win this race. It's the big money race, right? But you're right. There could be an aspect to Talladega and Daytona summer, like going through the line where no, guys are less likely to just shove someone through the entire field and cause a big wreck. So hopefully, yes, a little bit better racing. I have this hot take that I think we've outgrown Daytona and Talladega. I won't get into it because I don't want to, but the size of the track with the cars, there's too much grip. There's like, we've slowed them down so much because we don't want them flying, into the catch fence. And that just creates this weird vibe of racing. Whereas we see in Atlanta where we have tighter radius of turns and we still have a little off throttle and all of a sudden that's the racing we were used to 15 years ago because that grip level matches that turning radius and everything else. So I kind of have this whole take where I'm like, man, if we could just get away from these tracks, but Daytona and Talladega are the two most iconic, so it won't happen.
To your point, I want something that feels, again, I know people will pick apart legitimate, illegitimate. What do I mean by that? I just want, when I walk out the door and drive through the tunnel for the last time, that hopefully no hurricane Sunday night. I just hope that I feel like that winner earned it. He deserved it. It came down to the race and it didn't come down to, did you survive? Because to me, I view the Southern 500 as being the biggest race of the year because it's the ultimate test of driver and engineering. It's not a crapshoot. And I don't want the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. And Denny Hamlin's talked about that specifically because, obviously he's a 3-time Daytona 500 winner. He had so much success on the drafting tracks. And then with this car, he's had none. He's wrecked 90% of the time. Like horrible stats. He is literally one of the bottom 8 or 5 guys on drafting tracks over the last few years. And a lot of that's just the product of the racing in the car that we have now. It's not the same. He can't control the pack. He can't do the things that he used to do. And so I think your point of legitimate versus illegitimate is right. It's like a driver is having a much harder time being the true factor in what we're doing. It's a lot more just chaos and carnage and last man standing. And so it would be cool to get there. I don't know if we will, though, but by any means. But hey, we'll see. We're a week away. I'm excited for the racing. Like you said at the beginning, racing's back, and that's all that matters. Long season ahead. I got one more thing I want to talk about before we get out of here because it's going to be the prominent storyline for the weekend. Super Bowl. Do you have any? Are you a football guy? Are you paying attention? You got someone you're rooting for? Who do you think wins?
I'm a Saints fan, and so I haven't had a lot of reasons to watch. It's not that I'm a fair weather, but I am so busy that if my team is under 500 or out of the mix, I tend to watch less and read more. And so I've not watched as much NFL this year. In fact, Super Bowl is the Patriots and I don't even know. That's so sad.
That's eye-opening. It's the Seahawks.
It's the Seahawks. I knew it was a West Coast team. I'm a little disconnected this year, mostly because I'm a sports junkie in general. I'm an Anaheim Ducks fan, and they're having their first good season in a decade. And so I've watched a lot more hockey this year. And so again, I know that makes me look fair weather, but I don't have the bandwidth and time to watch a team that's going to lose more often than they win. Like, why would I subject myself to that?
Right.
Now I'm keeping up with things. I read the Saints were not good this year, but I read the things that I needed to know. Tyler Shuck became the guy, and I can't wait to see what he looks like with a good team around him. But when my team is good, I tend to watch Sunday Night Football after the races a lot more. I tend to watch the midweek shows. And so I'm so disconnected. But I haven't watched the Super Bowl in several years because, and I hate this, New Smyrna Speedway always schedules their Sunday show against it. And so they've got super late models that Sunday night. And so
That's
I
wild.
run a short track website. I wish what they would do is for the World Series on Sunday, make that a Sunday day race and get everyone out of the track by Sunday evening so they can go back to the hotel or wherever they are and watch the game. I would love to watch the game, but I've got a website to run and I'm very committed to short track scene and growing that deal. And this is the first year that we're actually break even, and I want to keep that going.
Nice.
I've got 13 years of running a website that was in the red, and so far right now I'm actually green. I'm a little more green than not. So if I can keep that going, I'm going to do that.
Nice. There you go. Well, good segue. Tell them how to support the website while we're here.
Great question. First and foremost, I got to say support motorsport.com because none of this would happen or be possible without them hiring me to do the NASCAR coverage last year. I am so grateful, so gracious, so happy to be there, to have a platform to tell really good stories, to be able to hang out in the garage after the race and get quotes that no one else had, to tell some stories. I got a story coming up with Ryan Priest's spotter, Brandon Wilkinson, like I talked about earlier in the show. Got a story on him coming up. Love being able to do that in motorsport, but also the fact that they allow me to continue operating short track scene. I've hired 2 contributors this year, which has changed the game. The fact that we have a budget to hire contributors, I've got sponsors and advertisers. And so support that website too. I don't have advertisers and supporters without readers. And short track scene's grown to the point that people are reading it, and I've got advertisers. So thank you, motorsport.com, shorttrackscene.com, all of my social media channels. That's the way to go.
Perfect. There you go. That's a great way. We're almost figuring this YouTube thing out. I'm still doing.
We are so back.
Yeah, I'm still doing DraftKings thing with Daily Fan Racing. This is a YouTube channel I created and used for that. But me and Matt decided to kick this podcast off. So if you're interested in DraftKings or DFS, you can follow me and get on board with that. Otherwise, make sure I should probably be saying this like the first minute in, but make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you're back here with us next week. We're going to be a little less consistent than potentially the teardown is, but we're going to try to do this most Sundays after the races is kind of my expectation with Matt. And then obviously
I intend to be here after every race. If you willing, I'm ready to do it. There was the thing that happened at Phoenix last year. I did the show with Steve Letarte, and I did not want to turn that down. But my intent is to be able to do a show after every single Cup race. You willing?
Yep, I'm in. But it might just be like 1:30 in the morning when it goes up, stuff like that. So work with us on time. If not, it'll be up Monday, ready for you in the morning on your drive to work. You probably live at work more than you're at home anyway. So yeah.
I drove home to work.
Yeah, exactly. So if you need something to kill some time, hopefully we can fill that void for you. Appreciate you guys for checking out the show. Thank you to Ryan Priest for winning. I think that was really cool and it gave me excitement. And we will catch you in a week and a half from Daytona. See you guys. Thank you.